Just a little bit of a note, if you're joining us on Workplace, we will also be saving this on YouTube if you want to share it out to your colleagues that can't join us live. Please feel free to ask questions in the stream as I'll be monitoring that for Jarvis. So Jarvis Marlowe McCowan is here from SUNY Delhi, and we had hoped that he would be able to be here with his one of his students, Ron Fells, but as we're all aware, it's the end of the semester and students have a lot of responsibilities and opportunities that they need to sort of tie up before the end of the year. So hopefully Ron will make an appearance, but if not, Jarvis has been provided a little bit about Ron's perspective and experiences in the program, so we can still hear about that, that student experience. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Jarvis, and please take it away and tell us all about your initiative.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you to the SUNY Professional Development opportunity to share what we're doing down here at SUNY Delhi. So I'm just going to give you a run through of our program, how we started and where we are now in our second semester of the program. Provide a little bit of spotlight from one of the students who works with the program that Kelly mentioned, Ron Fells, and also have time for a question and answer. I think that's going to be the great substance of this time here today, to talk really about what we are doing, and then learn from myself and also learn from you all based on your questions. So I'm going to kick off really what we're doing with our program. Again, my name is Jarvis Marlowe McCowan, and I serve as the Assistant Director of SUNY Delhi's Multicultural Center, and the Men of Distinction Academy program is an umbrella program of the Multicultural Center. In that role, as the Assistant Director of the Multicultural Center, I provide opportunities for the campus community to develop their multicultural awareness, knowledge, and skill development. And during our time today, I'm going to again provide an overview of SUNY Delhi's Men of Color program, specifically related to the program's inspiration, aka our why, the program's theoretical framework, our implementation process, assessment efforts, and future initiatives. So our program here is sponsored by SUNY Performance Improvement Fund grant, and we are very honored and thankful to SUNY System for its support. One of my colleagues who cannot be here today, but in her former role as the inaugural Chief Diversity Officer here at SUNY Delhi, and now is working in our O'Connor Center for Community Engagement, really helped launch the program, the Men of Color program. And what she did was really provide the college with some data, key data, to really look at what was the critical need to move the SUNY Delhi Art campus community into reaching its most vulnerable and most marginalized student populations. And one of those groups were men of color. So the SUNY system has a goal of being one of the most welcoming and inclusive higher education systems, and fully supports initiatives designed to meet this goal. And again, as the former inaugural Chief Diversity Officer, Ms. DeFries, spent much time reviewing literature and reaching out to subject matter experts on men of color achievement. It was through the research, Ms. DeFries saw the real need to help men of color find meaningful and supportive relationships inside and outside the classroom, on and off campus. So what existed was a real desire for the program to assist the students in further developing their academic, personal, and social achievement. So this desire and this interest led to focusing on what tools men of color utilize to be successful in all endeavors. Adhering to prolific scholar Dr. Sean Harper and his anti-deficit achievement framework, which I will talk about later, the grant proposal launched into developing an initiative that intentionally seeks to determine the strengths of SUNY Delhi's men of color and ways in which they are successfully navigating to and through high school and to and through college. So it's essentially a program that intentionally listens to the students that we're seeking to serve and replicate the guiding practices. So we seek to learn from them, replicate their success, and ultimately serve as a model program on guiding practices for addressing opportunity gaps among men of color and other marginalized and underserved populations on college campuses, and particularly here at SUNY Delhi. The key to men of color success is that there is no single key. Unlocking the doors of opportunity for men of color collegians requires that institutions get to know the students for who they are and all that they're becoming. Actively listening to their voices has potential for creating institutional change and strategic planning. Doing so should produce more data-driven initiatives, offering institutions to assess, evaluate, and build upon what is going well with diversity-related initiatives. This group and other marginalized groups' success should not be by happenstance or serendipitous. As a community of educators, our work must be intentionally focused on providing opportunities for marginalized groups to experience a liberation and experience the promise that we seek to provide to them. So on the screen now in front of us, it's our program description. So as mentioned, SUNY Delhi's Men of Color program is formerly known as Men of Distinction Academy. Its mission is to enhance the academic, personal, and social experiences of men of color students at SUNY Delhi through educational and mentoring support, and also coaching and enrichment experiences through one-on-one, tag team mentoring, and then we use the family support model as well. We do this by incorporating 5 key components into our theoretical framework for the program. That is academic and career support. That's also through academic and student skill development. That's also through opportunities for leadership development. That's also through mentoring and also access to special events such as conferences, travel to various social events. For example, I don't know if you heard a knock, but someone was just providing me an envelope of tickets that we just purchased to take our young men and their mentors on a bonding experience to Syracuse football game down in during the upcoming fall semester. So our grant proposal here at SUNY Delhi was inclusive of very high yet attainable goals. Rather than read every goal in progress to date, I really want to focus on goals 3 and 4, which highlight the day-to-day experiences of the program. I'm going to go into further detail about goals 3 and 4 later on, which looks at enriching the experiences of men of color through mentoring, bonding, engagement, and high-impact practices, and also identify and further discuss some of our training methods for mentors. So our program is really taking a 4-pillar approach toward pathway to distinction. We recruit and we encourage our young men as scholars. We name them scholars during the recruitment phase. We name them as emerging men of excellence, as emerging leaders at the beginning, to let them know, to uplift them, that they are leaders and they are successful, and they will be deemed, in our case, a man of distinction. And we do this through 4 ways. Our first pillar, or one of our pathways to distinction to help them along their developmental journey, is through self-discovery. So we do various identity development workshops, Strengths Quest, which is a great tool, typically in the higher ed, college student affairs realm, where it takes college students and other college educators and provides a great assessment of their strengths. What are their top 5 and how can they leverage those in every avenue? So we had a certified trained Strengths Quest facilitator come to campus and train the mentors and the mentees, so the students, the scholars, and help them learn about their strengths and ways in which, again, to leverage them in their day-to-day experiences. And again, students are also engaged in various identity-related workshops. This is really designed to help them think critically about their position in the world and others. One of our mottos, or one of our phrases, is that your one way of living, it doesn't mean that it's always the right way. It definitely doesn't mean that's the only one way of existing or being in the world. So we really provide a lot of opportunities to help our young men in the program engage in critical and difficult conversation around diversity and social justice topics. And I think that's critical for us. The program is, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, housed in the Multicultural Center, which is an umbrella of the Center for Student Leadership Engagement. So our students are really, really intentionally situated in a context that takes their leadership, their identity development, and seeks to uplift and take it to the next level. Our second phase, or pillar, or pathway to distinction, this is through peer relationship and social bonding opportunities. A critical component of the program is assisting students in building their social capital with purpose. How can they develop a meaningful and supportive group of support? We do this through many ways. One is pairing a student with a faculty or staff member who serves as a support person, someone as a campus navigator, someone they can go to for guidance. Another way is through biweekly enrichment seminars that were coded as Uplifting Tuesdays during the fall semester. We moved to enrichment seminars this semester, where it's large group luncheon opportunities that they engage with their mentors and other students who are not in the program, where we talk about a different topic of discussion, and they share a meal, so bonding over food. Students are also exposed to off-campus bonding through conference attendance and various events. So we really are fortunate to be where we are regionally, being in proximity to SUNY Oneonta, Portland, SUNY Binghamton, SUNY Broome, and those institutions, particularly SUNY Oneonta and SUNY Cortland, they have student diversity conferences, opportunities for students to enhance their multicultural skills related to diversity and social justice. And SUNY Cortland just launched a Men of Color program and a more institutional embedded program that just had a Men of Color summit, and we were able to engage with that program. So we're really fortunate to be where we are and partner with other SUNYs to really do enriching inter-campus opportunities and engagement, not only for students, but professionals as well, like myself. So now I want to transition to our third pathway to distinction, and that's the student engagement in academic and essential skill development. The program has student interns and peer mentors that work alongside myself in the Multicultural Center, again, where the program is coordinated through. These students, they provide academic support and skill development to students in the program through study sessions and other programming efforts, time management, resume enhancement, cover letter enhancement, etc. And I think one of the salient pathways to distinction is the final pathway, which is leadership development and mentoring. Students are exposed to various forms of support throughout their time in the program. In addition to myself, the student staff that I said that worked in the Multicultural Center, and their assigned mentor, they most importantly have one another. The peer support and relationship building is critical in fostering development and the retention of our cohort of our inaugural Men of Distinction students. And the students are also being trained to serve currently as peer mentors to students that will be living in the living learning community for the program to launch fall 2019. So a little bit of a recruitment. The students were intentionally recruited men of color who had a 2.5 or higher GPA. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that right now as we speak. So at this point, you may be wondering about our students. Who are they? We currently have 24 students who are currently engaged, and I emphasize currently engaged. I emphasize currently engaged because we work with other students, particularly other self-identified men of color, who have yet to commit by signing the dotted line, and there's a little bit of hesitancy about the commitment, which we're unpacking with our young men. But we had 24 sign a dotted line, sign a contract, sign a state, come formally forward with applying to the program. And they are on a path to completing all aspects, all 4 pillars of the program. In our initial program recruitment, as I alluded to previously, targeted men of color who had earned a 2.5 grade point average or higher. Now, the reason for this is due to the research supporting the need to figure out how men of color experience success and work diligently to replace that and replicate that. Often, I think particularly in my experience, we focus on those not necessarily experiencing a lot of success inside and outside the classroom. And what I mean by success here is simply earning what we may render as high grades, above a 2.5. And we forget about those who are achieving, are the achievers. So all of our program, it's open to any student, any self-identified man of color. However, while those with a 2.5 and higher, they were explicitly targeted and recruited at the forefront when we launched the program to train them as peer mentors and ambassadors for the program, so that when young men of color come into SUNY Delhi, and for our first year, second year students, they have other peers that look like that, other peers, men of color, young men of color, that they can aspire to be, and also have something to motivate them to engage in leadership development. All of our men of color in the program, all 24, are leaders on and off, in and outside of the classroom, whether resident assistants, whether they are student athletes, scholar athletes, whether they are presidents, vice presidents of their fraternity, student club, or organization, working multiple jobs, recruiting money for the college. They're doing various leadership development opportunities that are putting them on a path for great personal and professional success. And again, next year, we really are going to be focusing on our newly admitted first experience SUNY Delhi men of color. And again, we're really excited to launch a Men of Color, Men of Distinction Academy Living Learning Community. That's really going to, I think, be a pivotal moment for our program. So really just want to now uplift who are the mentors, the faculty and staff. So we have, again, 24 currently engaged. 22% of them are faculty, and we have about 5 to 7 who are on a waiting list, who couldn't commit first year, but they do want to engage in its second year. So this time I'm gonna transition over to really looking at the purpose of why some of the students joined. And I have some context from the student Ron Fells, who couldn't join, but I do want to simply highlight, I think, what I found to be really two important reasons, rationales, justifications as to why our young men engaged. So when I asked some of the scholars in the program through an initial phase of assessment evaluation, just wondering what was their why, what was their purpose, I found that I could code their responses into two meaningful experiences. One, the mentoring, the bonding, and helping that their other peers achieve. And then the other, service and opportunities to give back. And I thought that was really important as we think about how can we best make a student-ready program. If we know that in this case, our self-identified men of color want to have an experience where they can mentor, bond, and help their peers achieve, and also give back to their community, their environments. Let's take what they're saying and help build and foster, develop a unique program that's going to meet their goals and institutional goals. So on the screen, you see some quotes. I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to highlight one from each. But one of our students shared that mentoring, for the most part, is something that he's looking forward to. It's a good opportunity for him to have someone in your corner. And because college life and academics can get complicated, can get a little bit difficult at times. And another young man wanted to make a difference within his community and give men of color the needed advice to succeed and excel. Did the same with our mentors. And for them, it was a commitment to their personal life and their professional, where they too had a commitment to giving back, but they also had a commitment to continuing to enhance their skills and abilities. And the final bullet point, I am very interested in serving a student who wants to graduate. I would like to put my skills, abilities, and talents to giving back. So I thought these were beautiful, beautiful stories and direct quotes from our mentors engaged in the program, stating their why. So to transition into some of our select programming efforts, I talked about the 4 pillars of the program, the pathways to distinction. This is looking at our professional development series and just really to highlight a lot of our training efforts. We launched our professional development, training the students and the mentors through Strengths Quest. And then we engaged them in an opportunity to help them develop their skills in mentoring and coaching men of color towards success. And again, as I mentioned, the students in the program are being trained as peer mentors to future newly admitted first year color. So it's kind of like this holistic model of support where we have our faculty staff, we have our students in the program, and we have future first year students who are going to be engaged in the program. And the developing skills in mentoring and coaching men of color towards success, all of our students and all of the faculty and staff went through this training opportunity. And it really unpacked the skills around critical consciousness. So the concept of being critically aware of who am I, who do I want to be, who am I in the context of the greater world in which I live in. So how am I going to successfully interact with people and people across racial, ethnic, gender, sexuality, different identity markers. Cultural humility, cultural competency, helping individuals, again, understand how their positionality in the world and how they're going to relate to other people. And we really wanted to unpack implicit bias, really help individuals understand how they show up in places and how the mental mind bugs that are going on in their mind, how can they mitigate the impact of the biases that they are aware of and also the hidden bias, so explicit and implicit. We helped our mentors and college and our students understand the importance of understanding college students and their environment. So really unpacking your traditional college student development theory and helping individuals understand some environments. For us at SUNY Delhi, for some students, it will be a culture shock. Either it's their first experience being exposed to an increasingly diverse environment. It's their first experience to being exposed to a rural environment. So it's helping individuals understand how they can find their resources to navigate an environment that may not be the best for them. And we also definitely wanted to help individuals guide and support other people to empowering themselves. And then I think one of the big components of that training opportunity is developing social capital. To know that we're not alone and it's essential for us to have different people in our life that we can go to for support. And then this semester we kicked off our monthly lunch and learn opportunities where students, members of the campus community, students in the program, mentors in the program, unpack masculinity, vulnerability, and bias. And I'm going to talk about much of that context a little bit later. So just to give a summary, to sum up, I probably talked about a lot of the program, and you're wondering, okay, can I get these in 3 bullets? So here we go. So taking a little bit of time to briefly summarize and what was discussed so far. So the development stage, the program's theoretical content and implementation was developed during the summer of last year, during 2018. And it's important to note that the program coordinator, myself, I have 5 to 7 years of experience working directly with men of color programs. Thus, the theoretical knowledge and the practical skills were present. They just needed, as anything, needed some refreshing. So I went into launching the program already having experience. And I know that's not the case at every institution seeking to launch a men of color program. But within the SUNY system, there are many men of color programs, and I'm happy to connect if anyone wants connecting resources. I am happy to share names and contact information. We launched our program during the first week of classes during the fall 2018 semester, inviting, again, self-identified men of color who had a 2.5 or higher GPA to interest meetings. We experienced great interest during the interest meetings. The students were phenomenal during the recruitment process and recruiting and getting the word out to students. So the snowball effect, the students have been my best resources with recruitment. Elite every week. Someone's bringing by another student who's interested, who's heard about the discussions, who's heard about the lunch and learns, who's heard about social experiences and how can I get involved. That's been amazing. And with any new initiative, and particularly now as I'm reviewing assessment efforts in our second semester of the program, we experience many teachable moments. It's okay to pause and take some moments to reflect and even hold off on doing some things for a little while. So I learned that I was focused on doing just go, doing, and that I failed to really reflect on what was going on directly in front of me regarding the program and supporting its participants. So I was not necessarily so focused on the number of students. I was taking time to focus on who I had in my presence and how I could best support them. And I think previously in my previous interactions engaging in men of color programs or launching men of color programs and developing them, we really focused on getting a high number. And we know that when we start these, you may get a small turnout and the program will build. For us in our second semester, having worked at other institutions with other men of color programs, I'm very ecstatic in terms of where we're going and the success we've had so far. And any, nuggets of wisdom I can share. really focus on the sustainability at the very beginning. So when you're developing a program, on your notes section, have a section for sustainability and critically think about how you're going to keep the program at your institution even when you are no longer there. Because these programs can't stay with the individual, they have to stay in an office or a department. So I encourage individuals to write down, take time once a month, once a week to write down some lessons learned, some things you did, policies, procedures of your program, who contacts who for what. I think those will be very, very important, and it helps you replicate these programs at other institutions. I can't begin to tell you how many campuses and colleagues I've talked to or been referred to talk to about how can we launch a minimum color program. And for me, it's been refreshing to be able to simply send a white paper or a document over about my efforts, about my experiences here, to be able to not have to scramble for notes that I've had, but to just simply send someone implementation, development, launching, lessons learned. So I encourage you to definitely take notes about your program and have something that you can hand to the next person that will come after you. And here's how the program is, and here's how it's structured, and here's how to launch and continue to develop. Of course, I'm a lifelong learner, so take time to get familiar with the current literature on men of color achievement and their experiences. There's many resources out there, articles, short articles, peer-reviewed books, webinars, and I'm going to talk about some of those resources in the next few slides so that I don't intentionally miss the ones that I go to. And seek some feedback from your participants and colleagues in the field. Men of color programs are spread out and everywhere. A lot of institutions have some type of men of color student organization, club, or program with regard to a retention program. So it's definitely important to really connect with people who are doing the work, and no need to reinvent from the wheel. I think your program's participants will be unique to your institution, and that piece definitely can have some nuance implementation. However, the structure of programs, 5 key components of programs, again, they're there, and I will share those in a couple of slides. So at this point, I love assessment. It provides me a time to reflect on where we've been and where we're going. I'm gonna just talk briefly about some of our assessment efforts. This is not all. This is just a snapshot of some. So on the screen in front of us is an effort to assess the efforts of the mentoring component of the program. So the mentors complete a rubric based upon how they feel the interaction is going between their scholars and themselves. And so, again, we think about how the students are gonna achieve distinction in the program. And this is specifically related to the mentor and the mentee. So this is more of a self-reflection. The mentor and the scholar gets to engage in this reflection and thinking about where they are in the program. Are they meeting with their mentor? And if they're not, what is getting in the way of that? A similar slide or rubric in front of us is looking at assessment efforts of the program. And this is something that helps me think about the more personal and professional development of the students and the mentors and engaged in the program. So again, the individuals can think about where they are in the context of achieving distinction. And the one on the screen looks at the student engagement, whether or not they're doing the things that they are supposed to be doing. That's in their contract that they signed up to do. And if not, it's a conversation we talk about. You wanted to be in this program, and let's unpack some things that you're not living up to the expectations that you set out to achieve for yourself. So these conversations are awakening for the student and myself to really look back and see, well, is this applicable to you where you are in your life, and to know that rubrics can be revised and tweaked for each individual student. So we really do take time to individually get to know our students, where they are and where they need to be and want to be. This is a sample rubric of a personal self-assessment from one of our students who's an intern and peer mentor for the overall program, who works with me in the Multicultural Center. And of course, his self-reflection would be in the distinction category, as he's held to a little bit of higher standards, as his job is to really serve as an intern and peer mentor to all of the students, all of the even mentors in the program. This young man, Ron Fells, has trained our faculty and staff, has facilitated workshops for them, and also has facilitated discussion opportunities for our students, our self-identified men of color, men of distinction in the program. So this is his personal reflection on where he believes himself to be. And in the comments section, he thinks about how he engages with his mentor, how he demonstrates his ability to support and coach other people, and to, again, thinking about how he's going to mentor first-year students in the program. So an overall good opportunity for him to really reflect on his progress in our first 2 semesters. So we're now kind of hitting the home stretch where we talk about more of the holistic experiences. Students engaged in the program have opportunities to bond through various opportunities, and that is through the generous support of SUNY System and the Performance Improvement Fund. So on the left side, we have some of our students, particularly our student staff who work in the program, and 2 of the peer mentors and interns for the Men of Distinction Academy program, who attended a national conference at Rutgers University. And then we also have students who engaged in a dialogue opportunity around diversity and social justice topics. The Men of Distinction program partners with various student clubs and organizations on campus. On the left was a fraternity, and on the right, some students engaged in SUNY Oneonta's SUNY Pride Conference. So some things that I am really, really looking forward to are some of our future programming opportunities. Again, we're continuing to develop the mentor and the peer mentor campus navigator training. We're continuing to develop our students through engagement in SUNY student leadership conferences, SUNY Oneonta, SUNY Cortland, Tompkins Cortland Community College, their ID Summit, SUNY Fredonia's Men of Color Summit. For us at SUNY Delhi, we are really looking forward to October 4th, 2019, and launching our inaugural Equity Summit, where we're focusing on enhancing the professional skills of our faculty and staff with regard to diversity and social justice, bringing in guest speakers, really looking at how they can think about their workshops, think about their curriculum, and take it to the next level and ensure that we can eradicate some of our opportunity gaps, and particularly related to some of our students who are rendered most vulnerable and marginalized. And then a lot of our men of color who have been able to go to men of masculinity retreats, again at SUNY Cortland, at TC3, at SUNY Fredonia, have said, let's develop our own. So we're going to be launching a Men of Masculinity Summit, really probably seeking to launch that the spring 2020 after we launch our Equity Summit. And that will be student-driven through support and coaching from and consultation from myself. But that's going to be the students leading workshops, leading discussions. How can they essentially be better about thinking about masculinity? Our Men of Distinction Academy Living Learning Community, something that I briefly discussed throughout various slides. This is a partnership, obviously, with our Office of Residential Life. And they saw an opportunity through the success of the program in its first year to intentionally look at how we're going to support our newly admitted first-year men of color. And this group is going to live and learn together and have assigned mentors, have assigned student staff, and myself and a professional residence hall to really, really provide some enriching experiences for them. I'm going to be publishing a white paper on implementing men of color initiatives, again, to support other institutions that are looking for ways in which they can launch, develop, implement men of color programs. And these are going to be lessons learned. I've been at an institution that had that took a student club and developed that into a more institutional program at a large Research One institution. Previous work at a community college, developing and launching a Men of Color program. And now at Delhi, we are in our first year. So how can we launch but also sustain? In the programs that I've been at, and not a testament to me in terms of why they're still going, but the individuals that are still there, that were part of the program, they're continuing the program. So that's institutional support is critical. And then something that it makes my heart really, really beat fast and smile. Men of Color Achievement Consortium. So there is a National Men of Color Achievement Consortium. And I found the real need for our region, for SUNY Delhi, located in the central southern tier area of New York, to take advantage of the Men of Color programs that we have at SUNY Broome, at SUNY Cortland, and then thinking about SUNY Binghamton's program, SUNY Oneonta's Brothers for Empowerment program. How can we all come together weekly, monthly, annually, and not only talk about our programs, but serve as a resource to other institutions within the SUNY system and K-12 educational environments and the corporate world? How can we provide personal, professional development around men of color development and achievement to eradicate some of the barriers, eradicate the deficit thinking that some people think when they think about men of color? How can we center the achievement that this population experiences and continues to experience on college campuses and replicate that elsewhere? So that will be seeking to launch more so this summer of this year, and by hosting pending some various factors to launch that Men of Color Achievement Consortium Summit and looking at spring 2020. So at this point, I'm gonna think about or direct our conversation and presentation here thinking about the impact the program has on some of our mentors. Our mentors is here talking about when their scholar brought me up to the center, the Multicultural Center. The mentor here talked about how they witnessed really good vibes. They went on to say that their mentee talks about the regular meetings, the connections that he's made through students. The mentor was great to hear all of this and see the real hope that we're providing to these students. And they went on to say that when they were out in the community, they ran into another student who was not their mentee. And they gave him a fist bump and they saw it as an act of encouragement. So we, again, looking at how the program has provided this not only uplifting spirit to our students in the program, but also our faculty and staff, that they too have an enhanced sense of belonging through engagement through a program for student retention. Some of the impact on the scholars, time management enhancement, eye-opening, awakening to see other students of color that are succeeding, helping keep focus. And unfortunately, my co-host, co-presenter could not make it due to being a diligent student and meeting with a professor to talk about preparation for final. But he did send his regards and actually did type up a statement that I could share with you. So he did want to be here today, but he did provide some support. And this is a direct quote from Ron Lee Fells, one of the intern and peer mentors for the Multicultural Center and Men of Distinction Academy program. And a very short and eloquent, very purposeful statement here. Men of Distinction gives us direction and confidence. So Ron Fells, I've been working with him a year, and why did he join? And in Ron's words, he said he joined Men of Distinction Academy because he wanted direction on campus. He didn't really do much on campus outside of working and going to class. So the Men of Distinction Academy program was a great way for him to feel more involved and have a greater sense of belonging on campus. He went on to say that just being in Men of Distinction Academy for the first month made him realize that he had much more to learn about his own race and diversity and social justice topics and how he can impact the world. And when he was asked to reflect on what's his reason for coming back to the program in its second year? What are his hopes? Mr. Fells went on to say that after experiencing the program for a great first year, he wants to return because this group allows him to connect more with himself and analyze his vulnerabilities and connect deeper to more deeper rooted problems and opinions within current. So he went on to say that he loves the fact that the program does not only have fun, but that they also can learn and grow as young men. And he hopes to see more activities with the mentors for next year and even have a bonding experience over the weekend with his mentors. When asking Ron to think about some things that he's learning as a result of the program and specifically how he might see the impact post-SUNY Delhi, Ron went on to say that he's learning a lot about diversity, and it's making him more conscious of how he behaves and speaks, how he interacts in the world. He's learning the proper use of pronouns when identifying people in different ways that he can empower his community. He went on to say that these efforts can help him definitely in his career, being that he's going into business and technology management, and specifically help him with cross communication and with people who are different, and hopefully help him motivate and empower his own team one day that he plans to supervise. And finally, when thinking about the program, the workshops, anything that's been memorable for him within the program, the Minimum Distinction Academy, so one of his favorite trips was a basketball trip to Bond, where we took students to Syracuse. And his favorite one actually was one of the luncheons where he was a facilitator. I could not facilitate at the time, and I asked Ron to step in as he is a trained facilitator. And he said this was his favorite because he was given a role where he was challenged to approach a difficult topic, and now he feels confident that any anxiety that he had in public speaking, he said that all went out because he's now confident having the experience that he could do it. And he wasn't going to let himself down, so he pushed himself out of his comfort zone, gave it a shot, and he excelled. And just briefly talking about that, providing some context, Ron was charged with facilitating a conversation, a training opportunity for faculty and staff around men and masculinity development, specifically regarding to how to help men engage in vulnerability, engage in learning more about themselves and how they're going to interact in the world. And Ron co-facilitated with this mentor. And when I got back to campus, I was away for a conference. My email was flooded with high praise of Ron from the mentors and other students in the program. So a fantastic young man who's reaping the benefits of not only his personal success, but what a program intentionally designed to retain individuals like him. So now I'm going to be approaching some resources that I've held off until the end. The one on the left, boosting college success among men of color, promising approaches and next steps. So if you remember, I talked about the 4 pathways to distinction for our program, and they came from the key components of men of color programs. Key components: academic skill development, mentoring, professional development opportunities, for example, career development, resume writing, cover letter writing, and access to special events, conferences, bonding opportunities, all came from this amazing article that is a go-to. And it really unpacks a lot of the exploration around existing programs for men of color and where that we can uplift and enhance these programs. So the researchers in this study, or in this short article, did an assessment of men of color programs in the U.S. on colleges and universities, and they identified 5 key components. And that is a great resource I would highly encourage individuals to review. In the middle, aspirations to achievement, men of color in community colleges. This was a resource provided to me when I was working at a community college with a men of color program. And it's a phenomenal resource looking at data, looking at how men of color programs can be really, really impactful on community college campuses. And then finally, the Guide to Mentoring Boys and Young Men of Color. This is sponsored through the My Brother's Keeper Alliance program and Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership. And this was served for me as a great resource to really developed a curriculum for training the mentors and the faculty and staff in the program. A great resource for any individuals that have some type of mentoring or campus navigator or peer mentoring program. Highly encourage it. And then an academic, I think, hero of mine, Dr. Sean Harper. He and some of his colleagues developed a report, the Black Male Student Success in Higher Education, a report from the National Black Male College Achievement Study. And this interviewed 219 Black men on college and university campuses who are achieving, who were high achievers inside and outside the classroom. And this report is inclusive of the anti-deficit achievement framework that I talked about briefly, which flips the script, takes all the deficit that many individuals think about and report about or decide to intentionally report about men of color. And this anti-deficit achievement focuses on reporting the positive, the stories of men of color achievement that even though more than, in this case, 2/3 of Black men end up graduating or earning their degree or certificate, a third do. How can we best support and replicate the third that do, so that the 2/3 that do not, they will be in the category of the 1/3 that excel. And then, as I'm in the state and we're in the state of New York, succeeding in the city, another report from the New York City Black and Latino Male High School Achievement Study through, at the time, through Sean Harper when he was at University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education. And this study is something that really helped me think about the transition from high school to college among men of color, specifically Black and Latinx men. What are their needs? What are their experiences in high school? And how can we help them continue to be on a path of success, excellence, distinction once they get to college? A lot of our students, our young men of color at SUNY Delhi, come from one of the 5 boroughs. So this report was critical, essential, salient in my development of launching programs. Some books: Empowering Men of Color on Campus, and then Advancing Black Male Student Success from preschool to the doctorate. And then in the middle here is a screenshot of the National Men of Color, the National Consortium on College Men of Color, through Dr. J. Luke Wood and Dr. Frank Harris. Phenomenal database, phenomenal resource for anybody looking at opportunities to enhance and learn more about men of color success and achievement through webinars, through research articles, through consultation. A phenomenal resource that I cannot talk about, brag about. It's a really, really great resource that I highly encourage individuals to partake in, the National Consortium on College Men of Color. And for engaging with us today and learning about our program, I'm providing access to some of our training material. So some of the articles that we've used, one of the PowerPoints, I'm providing access to that, and some of the facilitation guides through our Lunch and Learn. So you have access to that. It's a hyperlink on your screen. Feel free to engage in that. And you can definitely contact me for assistance, or simply for talking about your program, or where are you in your program, if you want to launch, if you want to further develop, if you're just thinking about launching a program for men of color success. I'm happy to engage in conversation or do campus visits. That's my role, and that's my opportunity to continue this great work, not only in the SUNY system but elsewhere. So thank you all for your time with us, and feel free to ask any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Jarvis. And actually, we'll put the link. I'll have you send me the link, and I'll put it in the comment section underneath the video, so we don't get that lost in translation. But I have a few questions while we see if any roll in from the stream. My first one being, I wrote these down, so hold on a second. So Ron's mentor, I'd love to know if you can share, and we don't need the name or anything, but what's the background of that mentor to put it in perspective when Ron communicates with them? Like, is it, faculty? Are they from the area? Are they not from the area originally? What's their story? Um,
Yeah, great question. I think so. Thematically, our motto, which is one of the core foundations of the Washington Consulting Group, um, looks at or highlights just because you are does not mean that you understand, and just because you are not does not mean that you can't understand. So,
right, right.
what that means for Ron, as a self-identified Black man, his mentor is a self-identified white woman who is
Okay.
a member on campus, um, who is actually our director of grants and corporate engagement. So he was intentionally placed with her through they had a previous working relationship where they actually knew each other before I even got to Delhi, because he was a student worker working in grants and working with our Office of Financial Aid through some data assessment. So they had a nice relationship already. And so it was more of an organic pairing, not your typical with mentoring programs. So our other students were paired based on survey data based on informal meetings and recommendations. So Ron and his mentor already had a pre-existing relationship, and his mentor's background, a lot of experience with grants and a lot of experience with corporate engagement, a lot of experience um, living in different environments. That I think that pairing, it's funny to think about it, probably would have happened anyway if they didn't have a pre-existing relationship, because they both are go-getters. They both have a lot of high expectations for themselves, and they both are intentional reflectors. So that's a little bit about their relationship.
That's great. That's actually a great segue for my second question. So when you talked before early on about having everyone complete Strengths Quest and self-reflective activities, I'm curious if there was a favorite activity or a theme throughout what you saw with either the students and or the mentors that really stood out, or like, wow, I didn't think that would be as powerful, or something like that. An experience.
Yeah, I think the lunch and learn opportunities. So those were opportunities for every participant, in fact, the mentors and students who are recruiting, that have not yet committed to joining the program, to one, connect and meet everyone in the program. So we get the tag team mentoring, we get that family support where the students can talk to other mentors, the mentors can talk to and get to know other students. There was also the intentional bonding over a shared meal. So it was over the lunch hour. So that helped. And then we took about 15 minutes to simply talk about articles that I have been using with the students to unpack their identity. So thinking about identity related to men and masculinity, sexuality, gender diversity, race, racism, ethnicity, etc. How can we develop something that is just remarkable for all the participants to come together and learn? And I think that seeing in person surprised me, because I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know if people would dread coming every month. I didn't know if students would only be able to come for a little bit and have to leave early. But seeing that in action, I think was really remarkable to see. And we just had one yesterday where a lot of the faculty and staff applauded the students for their willingness and being very vulnerable and sharing, not afraid to talk about their lived experiences with faculty and staff that they had no idea who they were in the beginning of the program. So we did, the surprising piece was to see their growth in action from last year with our first luncheon to the last one of the year, which was yesterday, was from an assessment standard, fantastic, but from a more personal, as a program coordinator, I couldn't have been more proud of the participants. So I think I would have to answer that question with what was the most proud moment. And eh,
Great. You do love assessment.
yeah.
So I think, there's always a focus on assessment, but how does the quality, and you might need to refer back to a slide, and maybe you showed this, but you didn't really go into detail, but how do you factor in the qualitative data that you're getting? Obviously you have these scales, about like emotional impact and whatnot, but how do you take those stories and pop it into your spreadsheet? What's your
Mm,
best recommendation? I mean, you love this stuff, so.
yeah. I think I might have to go to an article here if to answer that question.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's see. And I think my screen is still being shared.
Yeah, I can see your PowerPoint.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to
You
here.
might want to stop the share and then restart it with the article once you're ready. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now I see your Google. You're good. You're good. Okay. Good self-promotion too.
Yeah. So the hmm. So it's really a campus support piece through our marketing and communications office. So they caught wind of the program and really have been meeting and interviewing the students in the program to launch like these monthly conversations about meet Ron Fells, man of distinction, meet Thomas Martinez, man of distinction. So the qualitative piece comes from the storytelling from the institution. And so how to embed that into the more, I guess, spreadsheets or the more formal assessment in terms of like an assessment, a 3-year assessment or unit plan. So it's really between, again, highlighting the article with our own marketing and campus engagement. And it's also to answer the question, really looking at, and I think my screen is still looking at the PowerPoint. You can see me going back here. Looking at the rubrics that we developed, and in all the rubrics, there's a comment section for the young men to input their experiences. But for our goals, I think it's really looking at goal 2 for the qualitative piece. This is, in my mind, more of the substance. We can have all the great data that looks at the average GPA of our students. So all 24, if they were looking at the average, looking at the data, it's at a 2.8 for the program as a whole, 2.8 grade point average. But the qualitative piece, what are they getting out of the program and why? And if they can explicitly state, I'm being retained or I'm feeling more of a greater sense of belonging at SUNY Delhi as a result of engagement in the program or as a result of the Men of Distinction program doing this important piece right here, give direction and confidence. And then you unpack that through our assessment measures where, okay, can you tell me a little bit more in a focus group that I may have with the young man? What does direction mean for you? What does confidence mean for you? That's how we insert the qualitative piece through, I guess, more the formal methods of the, and I kind of went around and now back full circle. But the process of it is through our focus groups. The process of it is through various ways of assessing, engaging, rigorous research methods with the young men.
Okay.
So the storytelling piece, I think, works well for our campus. One of our key themes or one of our strategic themes for the college is storytelling. How can we advance and participate in efforts that positively elevate the campus profile? So what I'm reading is one of the college's 8 strategic themes in our new mission and vision process. So we more so focus on storytelling versus the numbers for our program. And that is based on our institutional framework.
Great. No, it's good. And I now hearing more about Ron as well, and getting that perspective. He's really probably sad that he missed this.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have to do a follow up, next year. So, well, this is great. I haven't seen any questions come in at the moment, but I know that we'll put obviously that link for your resources there, the link to your website, and then also, since people will be obviously watching this later. Right. So if you are watching this later, please feel free to reach out directly to Jarvis, and we'll put your email in this as well, so that folks will know where to find you if they have questions. But it was wonderful to hear more about it, and I appreciate you taking time during this busy part of the semester as well, to speak with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you for having.
That was great. Any parting words, final words, favorite inspirational quote, any of those?
Um, well, on the back of the Minute Distinction Academy shirts is a quote from Malcolm X that states that education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow, belongs to those who prepare for it today. So I'll leave you all with that.
That's great. That's pretty much sums up your whole program. So
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
It's on the shirt. So
yeah.
yeah, show us the shirts too when you get a chance.
Will do.
So great. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.